Okay, so bit of story time here. This is photo reconnaissance, this package right here. And this right here is one of my very favorite aircraft. All right, so a little more story time here, personal history and credibility's sake, because, since we live in the age of the internet, people don't even look at the information when you present it to them, and they're just like, oh, first page resume, whatever. Oh, he's been in the industry for 8 years. That's good enough. Put him in. Especially with headhunters and so forth. These third-party agencies, I'm not going to name anyone in particular because it's not their fault for existing. It's the legislation that allows it to happen, and the loopholes, these little things that, under the table, things that happen. And, and that's where the exploitation happens because, the agency gets a lump sum, and then they get dollars per hour on top of every hour that the mechanic or the technician works in the industry. And the same thing goes for a lot of other contract work that involves another talent, say a talent agency or a headhunter, unless it's a direct contract, which is of better preference. But the actual AMOs and the corporations, they want to displace the liability to someone else, and so they can have 6 degrees of separation between themselves and a mistake, so that they can say to the customer, "Oh, we just fired the guy. Don't worry about it. We got insurance, so no big deal, right? Hey, you get your airplane, we get the payout, everything's fine." Yeah. Okay, and I've been trained, and I've had the privilege of being trained, on the job by Canadian Forces veterans. This is not a joke, okay? I'm not going to name them because they know who they are and they need to protect them. Because what's happening right now behind the scenes is monumental. And every time I put up a post here, right, I'm making history because all this information needs to come out, right? This international trade of people that I'm not happy about. And I've been an unwilling participant in. And then, there's a lot of people that would say to me, "Hey, well, how come you didn't complain or whatever?" And to be honest with you, I've been in the background watching, listening, and taking a survey of the problems that people experience, so that when, I became, say, something along the lines of a principal design engineer, because that's what you should do. So like the Formula SAE or the SAE buggies that engineering students take. You need to have practical applications. You can't just do everything inside of SolidWorks or CFD, because there's always some sort of variation and always something within the model. So that doesn't account for reality, compressibility, turbulent flow, whatever it is, the variables are. And because a lot of it's based on statistics, they say like the Monte Carlo simulation, and calculus. That's the way it goes. That's the way she goes. Right? Okay. Like you don't build a mountain without a fault line, and the fault line that lies in a lot of these organizations now is that they've become too big for their own good, and the office people, like, again, I'm not going to name one person in particular, have gotten too much power, and they haven't worked a single day in their lives, so they don't know what it is to hold a rivet gun in their hands, right? They've never taken a shot in an aircraft that they couldn't take back. Okay, I have. All right. The same thing for someone that's a soldier. Have you ever held a shot? You ever taken a shot that you couldn't take back? Did you ever hold a life in your hands? You ever hold a rivet in your hands? You ever hold a bullet in your hands? This is important stuff because that's the weight of responsibility, right? A rivet gun is about the same weight as a pistol, like a full frame revolver. No joke, right? And the felt recoil is about the same. in a lot of cases. So like a 4X rivet gun is about the same felt recoil as a 9mm. I'm not killing. I'm not. I say I'm not joking yet. Like, and then you get into the specialized stuff that, okay, so the rivet gun has, say, like a tungsten driver inside, or you're using a tungsten bucking bar, and you feel it in your wrist. You feel it in your bones. So if you think you know what it is to be an aircraft mechanic, you don't. Okay? If you know what it is to be a heavy equipment mechanic, if you know what it is to be any other specialized technician, you know, not to leave any of you out. I'm just doing this for example from what I know, because the best way to tell a story is from your own experience, and that's a testimony, right? And these scheduling things and the payments, and you know, using outside labor, and then also using you know, the benefits within the organizations as an employee. Okay, we're going to give you a mutual fund, we're going to give you a pension fund, and so on and so forth. You just keep paying into it, and we'll match it, and so forth. But you know, the ambition is like riding a unicycle on a tightrope over a valley of razor blades. You know, you have no idea when and where you're going to fall off. And then there's been more than a couple organizations that I worked for, and then, like, you know, of course they weren't expecting this to happen, but COVID hits, right? And they overextended themselves. They were trying to build new hangars. They were trying to build a museum, something along those lines, and, you know, compounding problems. And they're just going around trying to put out fires all over the place, not thinking about well, just, you know, thinking about the here and now. Okay, so if we just get through this problem, then we can deal with those problems later. But it burnt people out so much that the, you know, aircraft mechanics were leaving the industry beforehand, before COVID hit, in droves, because of the lack of safety concerns and the lack of concern for the dirty dozen, or in my case, as I coined, is the baker's dirty dozen, which includes the 13th principle of empathy. And, you know, call this propaganda if you want to, but I really don't care. I don't care about your opinion. You, if you're gonna come at me for having these opinions, then you should look in the mirror, right? This black mirror that you're interpreting this information through, because narcissism is a huge problem in this society right now, and everybody thinks that just because they have a platform, that they have information that's worthwhile spreading, without learning and without hearing, without listening. And this is very important, because, you know, what's most important in a conversation is what 70% of listening, not what's said. And like, the reason why I'm doing these things, like I said in the previous video, is for my younger self, and for my brothers and my sisters, and for my family, and for all of my ex-girlfriends that I had to, you know, leave, or there was influences in the culture that subverted the relationship. You know, I don't want to displace blame. I have things that I did myself in these relationships that I apologize for, and that I'm not happy the way that they went. You know, you can't change them, and it's unfortunate. It hurts. But these relationships and the business relationships are just the same as having an intimate relationship, having a romantic relationship, because you end up knowing so much about each other, right? And that's the porcupine principle. So the closer that you get to someone, the easier it is to hurt them. You know, so this is where we're at. We either fix things or we're all destroyed. Not by ourselves, but by outside influences. You know, there's people that want Canadian aviation to collapse. They want to come in, swoop in like vultures, and pick the bones. Because that's how it would happen. That's how why we have industrial espionage. That's why we have, you know, these subversive tactics going on from individual groups, social groups actually, and you have gay washing, right, where a lot of corporations adopt the principle, or actually the mental health washing, right, that kind of propaganda, where they're like, okay, so we support you, but by definition the corporation is a psychopath, right? It's not necessarily the people that are uncaring. It's that the corporation exists to profit, and they always have, and they always will. You know, but there are participants, and by participating, that makes us guilty to some degree, right? So since it was the Holocaust Memorial recently, yesterday, something like that, and you know, there's a reason why the guards got prosecuted, is because they refused to stand up and say, no, I'm not doing this. That is the history, anyways, and that's why they went to The Hague, and that's why they were hung. And so here we are now.